Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2022 Buick Encore GX, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster Automatic Battery Disconnect. But before we do that, I'm going to check it out and make sure that this is something that's going to work for you. The whole purpose of this kit is to allow you to easily disconnect and reconnect your battery whenever you're getting ready to flat tow. And that's because with this particular vehicle, you have to disconnect that battery power whenever you are flat towing. And with the setup underneath the hood, we'll show you that in a minute, that could be a huge pain to have to get out there and take it apart and put it back together every single time you want to hook up or disconnect from your motorhome. And this just really streamlines everything. All you're gonna have to do is push a button. So for example, I'll power our car up here. We'll just get it in accessory mode. That way we can kind of show you what's going on. So you can see our display here is illuminated. We got our dome lights on, horn works, everything's working like it should, right? Well, whenever we're ready to flat tow, we need to disconnect the battery. Hit that button, everything turns off, completely shuts off the power to everything. So, I mean, that's like half a second and you're good to go. Whenever you're ready to disconnect and you want to start the car and go cruising and whatever else, again, another push of the button, and you can see our lights are coming on. Turn it on here. I like to give these cars a second to kind of think, you know, kind of wake up. But you can see everything's working again. Horn's working, the display's on, lights are back to normal. So that's all it's going to take, and it's going to really save you a lot of time and really just help simplify your flat tow process. So probably, even if you're really comfortable working with cars and things like that, you know, I almost say this is a necessity because of the battery setup here. So even if you weren't wanting to use this and you're just gonna do it the old-fashioned way and unhook it, you know, these cars now ain't what they used to be. A lot more complicated. So you would literally have to deal with this every single time. And honestly, I had kind of a difficult time just getting it apart to actually install the battery disconnect. And it's something I definitely want to have to do all the time. This is one of the things where you put this in once and you're done, you know, and that's really all there is to it. So just by having this here, you know, I feel like constantly messing with this is just really going to, you know, open up your chances for damaging something at the end of the day. You know, you have all these built-in fuses, this huge panel, and it doesn't take much one day for you to kind of lose focus, set a wrench down on it, or bump into something, whatever the case may be. So, and you know, something like that would always happen. It never fails. It happen when you're out in the middle of nowhere, or you know, late at night, or things like that. So put this on one time and you're good to go. You can disconnect and reconnect the battery in the matter of a couple of seconds. But with all that said, you know, I mentioned getting this installed, and so why don't we just kind of jump right in and start to work through it now. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do is mount up your solenoid here, and pretty straightforward. I put mine right here on this core support. Couple soft tapping screws, held it in place real nice. And then I popped the cover off our battery here, and originally this piece here where I have this wire bolted to now, that piece was over this post, this one here. So I removed that nut, bent this up to remove it. Then I loosened up this nut and kind of spun our post on our battery over to the side a little bit, give us some extra room. From there, all you're gonna have to do is take the appropriate labeled wires. So this one is labeled battery post. So clearly we're gonna put that to the battery post, right? So that's this, that'll go to there, directly to the hot side of the battery. Tighten that back down. This cable might be a little tricky to see now that it's all hooked up, but this cable, I can spin it, I can show you here. If not, you may just have to take my word for it. This cable will be labeled battery cable, And so that's gonna go to this piece. So this piece will have a hole already in it. This kit will come with a nut and a bolt and some star washers. You simply just bolt that to it. And that's really all there is to it there. With that said, once that's hooked up, you can move over to our solenoid. You're gonna have a white wire that comes off it, okay? And this is gonna be a ground wire. And so I ran that just right over here to our shock tower. There's a factory ground stud. That's what I used. All right, so I just took that off with a 10mm, crimped on a ring terminal to our ground wire, slid that over, and bolted it down. We're gonna have one more wire now, and that's gonna be the wire coming off of our fuse holder. So it runs along through here. It's actually this gray wire. That's gonna run right down through here and into the inside of our vehicle through a grommet. A little tricky to see from out here, but if you go inside underneath the driver's side dash, we can have a good look at it there. So here inside of the vehicle, driver's side floorboard, here's where our gray wire comes through to the inside of our vehicle. And that wire is going to just run essentially straight across to the back side of our fuse panel little access door on the front of our dash. So if you pull off your fuse panel door there, our wire is going to run through here. And then if you strip back the gray sheathing very carefully, that's going to expose a red wire and a black wire. And then you just strip back the insulation on those. And these are eventually going to get hooked up to the switch here. So obviously you need to drill a hole just big enough for your switch to get pushed through. So, you know, I like to use a step type drill bit where it kind of increases the size as you go and just check it occasionally. But you want it to fit tight. Once it does fit tight, you put this, tighten down this little jam nut on there. And you're going to back these screws out with the Phillips just enough to get the bare copper ends of your black and red wire through there, tighten them down. That's all there is to it. You don't have to, you know, it doesn't matter which side of the switch the wires go to or anything like that. You just pick one and kind of roll with it. So this is how mine turned out. And, you know, once you're done with this, you can go back into the engine compartment, put the fuse, the included 7.5 amp fuse into the fuse holder, and then we're good to go. So once you get to this point, you can kind of test everything out and make sure it works properly. And the way, of course, you would test it, you know, I just like to put our car in accessory mode so everything turns on. Push that button, everything will power off. And of course, you want to make sure it comes back on again. So we'll hit that again. Give our car a couple seconds to kind of think and wake up and do its thing. And hit our button again. And everything's powering up like it should. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster Automatic Battery Disconnect on our 2022 Buick Encore GX.